Welcome back, guys, and today we're going to be taking a look at the stock market, what's going on with the S&P, what's going on with the Nasdaq, the Bitcoin, the dollar index. It's going to be a jam-packed show. So we'll start off with some insider trading information, and look at this. Nancy Pelosi's husband has sold more than $500,000 in Visa stock ahead of the big plunge of Visa yesterday that I talked about. It's pretty crazy how these guys just magically seem to be timing the market perfectly every single time. How come Cash Booza and you and everyone else is not able to do that, but Nancy Pelosi's husband is able to do it every single time? It's pretty insane. I guess he's got some magical power, who knows. But taking a look at what's going on in Israel. So troops are preparing for a ground operation. Yeah, they always call it an operation, and they end up just going pound, pound, pound everywhere they see and just destroying everything that they see. Is this a problem for the markets? I am not sure. We'll have to see about that. As of now, the S&P is at record highs. Nasdaq at record highs. Absolutely no problems from a technical perspective. We'll talk about that later in the show. But let's see what else is going on. So Mr. Trump is being briefed once again that a crazy dude is behind his life for, I guess, like the third or the fourth time. I've lost count at this point. And so I asked Mr. Trump, how are we going to solve it? And he was
I see this. It's so incredible. Ding, 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 ding. Boom. Okay. Pshin, boom. Star Wars.
That's exactly how he's going to solve it. Anyway, we will take a look at the charts and see what's going on in the financial markets. It's going to be a jam-packed show. But first, let's take a look at Rivian. It's down about 6.8% today. Cash Booza, could I have predicted this plunge? Well, let's take a look at this. It was trading below the 200-day moving average, and that was your red flag number one. Red flag number two, it was trading below the 20-period moving average, and you completely chose to ignore that. And I am just like, why are you just ignoring all these red signals? These are the signals that you should be watching. These are the signals that's going to protect your capital. But you don't listen to Cash Booza, and that's okay. If you don't know how to do this stuff, that's okay. Stick around and you will eventually learn this, I promise. Let's take a look at what's going on with the S&P 500 first. So record highs on the SPY. Congratulations on the SPY hodlers. I see no problems with SPY right now. A lot of people are like, well, Cash Booza, yeah, SPY is at record levels. Should I be selling it? Well, why do you want to sell it? Because it's at record highs. Yeah, just because it's record highs, you want to sell it? Do you want to miss out on some tremendous gains that it might post in the coming weeks? Maybe it's going to go another 5% higher. Who knows? We have no idea. So record highs on the S&P 500, and it's not looking weak at all. A lot of channels on YouTube are like, yes, it's all doom and gloom. It's going to crash. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Crash is coming. US economy is collapsing. S&P is going to collapse. It's much worse than the 2008. Guys, I don't see any of that. The charts are looking perfectly fine. Yet it's record levels, but there are no technical problems just yet. Buy and hold, that's the name of the game. Long-term investment always wins in the end. We'll take a look at it from a weekly perspective. What's going on with these SPYs? So I told you last week that the candle on S&P is looking very, very nice. Ever since it broke out of this 565 level and the candle closed above this level in a very bullish manner, I was like, yeah, there's probably a lot more gains that's coming up. And that's exactly what happened. Take a look at this. The candle for this week is much higher than last week, and I'm expecting some kind of a closure like this if nothing crazy happens in the next coming days. The way this candle is looking, I've got no problems, and I can clearly see this market just pumping away. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait for a crash. Well, how long are you gonna wait for the crash? Are you gonna wait forever? Or are you gonna wait for like the 2008 style of a market where it just completely goes down? And when it does collapse, I can promise you, you won't be getting in even then, because a systematic investment always wins. And if you're just waiting for a market crash, when the market crash does happen, you are going to be FOMOing and you're going to be like, yes, it's going to go even lower. So investor and trader, completely different things. Yes, you can be a blend of both, which is what Cash Booza is. But if you're an investor, you buy and hold, you just put systemic investments in place. Maybe every month you set aside a certain amount of money and you keep it in the S&P 500 and you buy and hold forever. It's not that hard. We'll take a look at the Qs. What's going on with the Qs? So again, it's coming up to a very nice resistance level. It's just barely closing above the existing resistance level. We'll mark that real quick over here. So the resistance level was right here, and it is testing that right now. And if the candle closes in a bullish fashion, which I think it's gonna do it, we can look at some all-time highs on the Qs. Tech heavy sector, if the Qs goes up, I can clearly see a lot of the big tech also pumping away. So we'll talk about IWM. Yesterday I gave you some pretty bad warning signs, and I told you that it's gonna be a very choppy market for IWM. And the way I'm seeing that this is going to trade is going to be something like this, maybe a little bit of a chop right here, something like that, and a little bit of consolidation is going to be very much expected on the IWM. What happens when you take excessive risk and you don't listen to cash, Booza?
Emotional damage.
That's what happens. So don't take excessive risk. Don't be a hero. We want to be a cautious trader. We want to keep the capital to ourselves as much as possible, because if you lose 50%, it's 100% up. So it's much more harder to make the money. It's much more easier to keep the money. The dollar index. So this is the trade that I was talking about yesterday. A lot of you panicked yesterday and I wasn't sure why. You should be looking at the dollar from a higher time frame. You see that? You see that big tweezer? 1 and number 2. 1 and number 2. It came down. In both instances it came down and it tested the 200 period moving average on the weekly and it bounced. Look at this. It's a massive signal to the upside, and I think the trade is just getting started on the dollar. And the way I'm seeing this is gonna play out is it's gonna come up and then it's gonna come back down, just a little bit of retest, and then the rally is gonna assume. Wow, my arrow is looking really funky. We will take a look at some mega caps now. So let's take a look at Apple. What's going on with Apple? So massive consolidation happening on Apple. It's weeks and weeks of consolidation. This thing has been doing some volatility in the past. Look at this. It came back down and then pumped back up again. But right now it's just in a massive consolidation. If this consolidation breaks to the downside, we can expect some pretty bad things to happen on Apple. So Apple has this magical power of drawing the entire index down. And why not? It's the biggest stock in the S&P and the US economy. So if Apple is coming down, so is everything else. But right now, it's in a massive consolidation. I think it's getting ready to break out to the upside. We will have to wait and watch. There is no trade on Apple just yet. But what there is a trade on is Microsoft. Look at that. I told you yesterday that Microsoft is looking really, really sweet. We'll take a look at it from a daily perspective. So let's backtrack a little bit. So Microsoft put in a low, okay? This was the low. Could we have predicted this? Absolutely not. No predictions on Microsoft just yet. It came back up, okay, it crossed the 200-day moving average. It's coming back up. It's a V-shaped recovery. Okay, I don't mind you guys putting in a buy right here, but the bigger trade, the better trade is what's happening right now. Look at this. If we move over on the charts, it's a higher low. There's a low right here and there is a higher low over here. And when it comes back up and it sells off just a little bit, look at this massive resistance on this Microsoft chart. And if Microsoft is coming back down and it's coming into this very sweet spot, I can see some buying orders coming in on this level. And I would not hold it against you if you put in a buy right here. It's a very sweet spot and I can see Microsoft heading a lot higher. So let's take a look at Tesla. Everyone's favorite Tesla. What is going on? So when Tesla crossed the 200-day moving average right here, my heart was like this. I was like, this is a really bad sign. But look at that, it bounced back up and crossed above the 200-day moving average and it came back down once again. Above the 200, above the 20, and it just keeps pumping up and away. Above the 20, this is a sweet spot right here. A full candle close above the 20, that's a buy signal. And if you put in a buy right here, let's see how much you guys are up already on Tesla. So about 23%. And if you guys are in options, you guys are sitting on some incredible gains. No signs of slowdown on Tesla just yet. The way it closed today, it's a full candle close to the upside, and tomorrow's candle is probably gonna be a little bit higher than that. So keep holding. Not a financial advice, but something that I just see on these charts playing out day in and day out. Let's take a look at what's going on gold. My favorite of the favorite of the favorite. You don't hear this stuff on the mainstream media, by the way. It's only Cash Booza who's gonna tell you. No one's talking about gold. Everyone is like, yeah, buy the meme stock, buy this, buy that. But the real gold, the literal gold, is this. You gotta pay attention to this, and we will take a look at it from a weekly perspective because this is more of an investment than a trade. Look at that, absolutely monster. And let's take a look at it and see how much up you guys are on if you bought this at the 200 period moving average on the weekly. You guys are up about 45% on gold. And that's just the gold as in the metal. Let's take a look at it if you were holding some ETFs on gold. Let's take a look at what's going on with the gold miners. If you measure from the 200 period moving average, you guys are up about 30%. Again, it's a very sweet deal, and there is no signs of the GDX index to slow down. Let's take a look at what's going on with silver. I'm suspecting it's going to be a very, very similar story on silver as well. All-time high, approaching all-time highs. It's coming into a resistance zone right here. If it does clear this level right here, if this thing gets cleared up, I can see silver going even higher. Let's take a look at US oil. What's going on with the US oil? So US oil came down to a very, very key level right here. Let's take a look at that. Multiple reactions on the 200 in the past. Some reactions over here. And then this was the trap right there. It came down, and then there was a rejection to the upside. And this was our signal to consider not a buy, but consider a buy. Because if we see something like this and there's continuation to the upside, that means some recovery is in play, and I can see oil to keep pumping a lot higher in the coming days. Everyone is like everything is collapsing, but Cash Booza is like, no, nothing is collapsing just yet. We don't have confirmation. Always wait for confirmation, guys. Never trade just purely based on indicators, stats, because yes, stats can help you, indicators can help you, but it does not replace price action. And that's all I had for you guys today. Give me a like, subscribe to Cash Booza, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read them all. And you can see my previous video right here and the one before right here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.